We're live. Okay. Gonna stick the link in the chat. Almost there. Wait for it. There it is. Okay. Alan's dead. That's okay. Oh, we should have put Alan's face on your slide.
We should have.
Oh well.
Oh, there goes Ben. Is that sheepy guy?
Yeah, I don't acknowledge him anymore.
Oh, not anymore. Damn,
Yeah.
that's messed up.
Well, he knows what he did.
What'd you do, Ben?
It's a good question, Ben. Why don't you tell him? Nectar? Who the fuck is Nectar? You don't have to ask Hector that. You can ask me, and it's actually not true. I'm 3'1". Sorry,
He's 3'1"
and a half.
3 foot and 11 inches.
That's generous of you. Thank you. So do you wanna just get started, or do you wanna let people trickle in?
We can let people trickle.
Okay. Do you think Joe's actually coming?
I don't know if Joe's coming. I would like Joe to. He has to hear what I have to say to him.
Oh, I hope he comes. He's missing out on this delicious chicken water. Yes, I am Well, Hector said 3'11". That's generous. All right, we got a few people in here. You want to start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, this yes, new chicken water from Raising Cane's is delicious. So for those of you not aware, you want to introduce yourself? Anthony's not here tonight. We have someone else in his stead.
I'm Hector. I'm going to be taking over for Anthony for now. He's a little tired.
Hector from which team?
The SoCal Cheek Drillers.
That's right. One of our top teams. We got the man himself right here. And how many games did you watch this week? We didn't actually get a chance to talk about that.
Today I got done watching the Jurors.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Sadistic Seniors, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I think that was a total of 3, maybe 4 games that I watched. I watched the Mudkips.
Mudkips do not have a replay this week.
They didn't have a replay. I'm sorry. The Wailords, they didn't have a replay either. I watched the
Oh, no, they did.
They did? Okay. I didn't watch it. Potatoes, obviously, I watched the Drillers versus Doesn't Click. That was, I think, one of my favorite games from the season. The Rainbow Raiders and the Alcinas, that was a pretty good game, actually. I really liked that game. I watched your guys' game with the Bulus.
I forgot to put remove the check marks from Matt's.
And I think that's about it as far as games that I watched.
Okay, well that's fine. That should do it. Okay, so the first game, the Mudkips ended up beating the Spammers. We don't have a replay for that. It was a 3-0 victory from the Mudkips, I believe. I did mention it like an hour or two ago in the replays. No, they don't have one up yet. Tofu has one. He'll probably upload it later. Yeah, Wet and Wild Wailords versus the Platinum Pixies. This one was interesting. I still can't really decide whether the Wailords actually tried this time, because like the last few weeks, like they kind of skipped a few weeks, and then there were a few times when they battled and they didn't really prep and didn't really seem to try. So I don't know. What do you think? You watched this game, so what do you think?
I don't know. It seems like they didn't try, but according to Joe, they're gonna try in playoffs. So
yeah, well, maybe we'll see.
I would have loved to see him play more games this season. So
yeah, I mean they had a really strong start, but Yeah, I don't really know what happened. They led. It's weird because they led Incineroar right into fucking Lucario and Mudsdale.
Yeah.
Both were immune to Intimidate. Lucario's inner focus, so it can't flinch, and then the fucking Mudsdale maxed, so they could I think they switched Incineroar out turn 1, which makes sense. What the fuck's it gonna do? I guess they could have. They should have clicked Parting Shot if they had it, but I don't know. Yeah, I think they played like really passively in the beginning. The Wailords did, and they let the Pixies just get a bunch of offense off. They went for the Mudsdale max right off the bat. They had Lucario there for redirection. It went for a Bullet Punch to pick off the Vanillux, and they just got a bunch of offense off and got some KOs to the point where the Crobat and the Palkia were able to just come in late game and sweep. It was like the first turn they set up Aurora Veil, and then they got the Araquanid in later, and they just substituted. They were playing really passively. Yeah. They only got KOs while the Araquanid was Dynamaxed, and that was kind of it. They didn't get a single KO after the max was over.
Yeah, I think the passiveness is really affected by the clock. I'm sure if the clock was, if the timer was a little longer, then they probably would have been able to have a chance. Maybe try to set up the way they wanted to, but that didn't happen. So I think we had several of those games this season go to time. So I'm hoping they really change the timer.
Yeah, there's a big part of me that's just like holding out for a timer change in the Diamond and Pearl remakes.
I mean they just updated something. I think the way they just updated the game, and I think they changed the way some legendaries appear. I think the Xerneas and the dogs, I think. So, I mean, it can't be too hard for them to program a different timer.
No, I'm sure that's easy.
Yeah,
and even like they can clearly do shit that affects the online play, because there was an update that started showing team preview on that initial screen where you used to have to press X to look at the opponent's team.
Well, now it comes out on the same screen. So.
Yeah, so
I'm
like
sure,
they can clearly do shit like that.
Yeah, I'm sure this is something that they can do easily.
Yeah,
or they haven't done it.
I doubt they're gonna do it on Sword and Shield. I feel like they would have done it already, because there's been a shit ton of complaints about this stuff. But anyway, Po-Tay-Toes versus Team Pussy. This one was a little weird. Did you watch this one?
I didn't. I may have watched part of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, I think.
Okay.
Because I'll start watching videos, and I'll probably watch like the first 5 minutes, and then I kind of lose interest. But I mean, there wasn't too many games that I watched all the way through. So, but yeah, I think this was one of the games that I didn't watch all the way.
Yeah, I watched this one. I watched this one earlier today. I can't remember what happens in like the mid to late game, but it's kind of just Team Pussy leading with the G-Max Cinderace and the Gengar, and they just kind of blow through the whole team. Like the first turn, I don't know what the fuck Game Freak's do. Yeah, Ben mentioned that they fixed the Groudon Kyogre not being able to be tricked when they don't have an item, and that's good. I'd like to be able to see teams without hitting X in multi-battles, but it's kind of a lot when you don't have that second screen like you do on the 3DS, so it's like they'd have to jam, all three teams down. Yeah,
they would have to jam a lot more.
Yeah, it would be fine for our purposes because we only have 4 Mons on our screen, so you could just kind of put the 3 down at the bottom, but but multi-battles allow you to bring 6. So there's not always that much room.
It probably wouldn't matter for Vichy or Ben because they only bring 3 Mons on one side, so I don't think it would matter for them. So
Ben has the sense to bring a bluff. Vichy doesn't. I don't know who the fuck raised him, but
yeah, Vichy the bluffer.
But yeah, the first turn of this game was really strange because they had a Colbur Berry on the Dusknoir, and I'm assuming they're just trying to set up Trick Room. But they ended up faking out the Cinderace with Torracat while it maxed, and I don't know why, because you shouldn't be clicking fake out at all there because the Cinderace is the max slot and it's sitting next to a Ghost type.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the plan was there, and then the Max Darkness went into the Dusknoir, and then Shadow Ball just killed it. And they kind of just blew through everything with Cinderace and Gengar. I think Gengar was mostly the thing that was picking up the KOs, but the Max Darknesses with the attacks from Gengar with the special defense drops were just really, really nice. They ended up burning down one side, and then Metagross was just all by itself, all on its own, and like it ended up maxing, but it picked up like 1 or 2 KOs, but it couldn't really do much. There was too much weight on the Metagross' shoulders. Couldn't carry the rest of the game when they were so far behind already. So that's and that locks up Team Pussy as the only team to have an undefeated record for the regular season. So
incredible season for Team Pussy.
Next up is your game. Why don't you tell us about that?
Oh man, that was I think start was a little slow, and I think at some point in the mid game, I think I myself was thinking. I don't know if Allan was thinking this, and he could probably tell me. Is it kind of felt like the game was slipping away, but Allan made some great calls in for the end game, and I think we set ourselves up pretty good for the end game. One of my favorite games, I think, this out of all the games that we've played this season.
Yeah, so. I think it's almost definitely the game of the week. There's a couple of contenders for that, I guess, but it's probably the one I would say is the game of the week. But I kind of agree. I wasn't sure how, like, we knew the result before we watched it, but I wasn't sure how you were going to come back after that turn 1 when they just, like, blew up the Blastoise, and then I figured, like, all right, well, they got Tailwind up, at least he can get a Cannonade off and start doing chip. Shadow Sneak. Yeah,
the Shadow Sneak. Yeah, and then I think we found out that they're, I think it was Assault Vest, I think, because it didn't take that much damage.
Yeah, it did. You knocked off the Assault Vest later, too.
Yeah, it was later, so I was like, why didn't it take so much? And I think later on we were like, oh, okay, Assault Vest. Makes sense.
Yeah. The Surfetch, though, put in a shit ton of work.
That guy put in a lot of work.
Yeah, you guys were able to position yourselves well enough for that thing to pick up some really crucial KOs.
Yeah.
And, I think I really like the Will-O-Wisp on Arcanine because it allowed you to position well because they weren't doing a whole lot of damage after that.
I think that slowed down the Dragapult after, so I think that really helped us a lot, and I think that was a turning point in us trying to set up. And
it wasn't even Life Orb, so
it wasn't Life Orb,
damage output was just absolute shit after the burn.
I think we found out later that it was safety goggles, although we should have figured it out right after, like, I think turn 1 when we did the ice. So I didn't miss it. I know Allan didn't. I know Allan didn't miss that, but I definitely did, and I was kind of. But I didn't realize it till like turn 3. I was like, oh, it's not taking damage. Okay, well that's fine. I think that the burn really gave us the momentum we needed. After that, and then I think it was just positioning Mons out, around to make sure that we try to position ourselves for the end game, and it went really well towards the end.
Yeah, and you were in a good spot to do that, partially because of the burn, and partially because they had Seismitoad out, and Seismitoad fucking sucks. So,
no, I think Seismitoad can put in work. No. I think if it's well positioned. So,
no, I don't think so. I think Seismitoad is part of the reason that you guys were able to position a little bit better, because they couldn't really do anything with Burn, Dragapult, and Seismitoad on the field. So I just like talking shit about Seismitoad. So.
Yeah, I think there was a point where I think before they swapped it out, we were like, should we go with the close combat or the knockoff? And I don't know what it was, but I think towards the end I had like 3 or 4 seconds left, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna. Well, they can't. There isn't anything they can swap in that's not gonna take a close combat. So we either take out the Seismitoad or we take out whatever they have in the back. And they had Urshifu, and I think that's what where I realized, okay, I think we're gonna win this, because now I think we only had 1 turn of Trick Room left, I think. So I think they would have, after that, they would have been able to start putting out damage with the Urshifu. So I think that Urshifu KO was pretty. Pretty clutch.
Yeah, taking that thing out for free was really huge. Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on this match?
No, I think it's my favorite game of the season and all the games that we've played. So, yeah, it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Next up is the Raiders versus Mats. I forgot to remove the check mark from the Mats over there because I copy and pasted this from our pick'ems last week. But
No, sorry, Joe. Here it is.
yeah, no, your part's right here.
You're right on time, Joe. All right, hold on. Let me. Man, these are so good.
That's it. You can go now. All right, Rainbow Raiders versus the Mats. I have one question for Ben and Vichy. Why the fuck did you not kill the Inteleon? There were like two turns. One where I expected you to Expanding Force, and then the turn right after that when you maxed the Regidrago, I expected you to Wormwind into the Inteleon. Why? Why, Ben and Vichy? Why? You could have won so easily. That one hurt. Did you watch that one?
I did.
Yeah. Like you guys were doing oh well now it's not funny anymore.
I mean, you can go away now, Joe.
Yeah, Joe, you're done. You're
You're
good.
done. No, it's good that Joe's here.
So like they started out pretty good, especially because they hit the hypnosis on the fucking Togekiss immediately.
Ben
again.
and Vichy, I've played them both in locals before this COVID started, and they're both really great players. So of course they're gonna go for that, and then I like the thought. I think Vichy said, "Well, if we don't hit it, it's not that big of a big deal." So I was like, so I mean, yeah, they're pretty good players. It was a pretty good game. I think if the Blaziken had Rock Slide,
Yeah.
instead of Earthquake, they probably would have been able to mount a comeback here.
Yeah.
At least to take away Gale Wings from the bird.
Yeah, I mean, then they would still have to flinch the Berserker, and then go for, I don't even know if it would kill. It depends on the spread, I guess, because I know they were Eviolite on the stupid bird.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think the Rock Slide would have been better because then you probably could have taken their chances. And then knowing Ben and Vichy, they have extremely good luck from when I play them in local, so I'm sure they would have gotten a flinch where they needed it.
yeah,
They hit the hypnosis, so there's no reason why not go for a Rock Slide flinch and try to get it.
I also remember seeing the lead. They led with Gengar, and I was like, oh cool. They got a Gengar staring down a Thwacky and a fucking Togekiss. Sludge Bomb for days. Gengar is great here. Then Vichy clicks fight. We see the moveset, and it doesn't even have Sludge Bomb.
Yeah.
Why? You're playing Togekiss. Put fucking Sludge Bomb on your Gengar.
Yeah.
But of course that you have a chance to poison, so that gets in the way of the hypnosis. So when you're banking on hypnosis,
Gotta go for one or the other. I'm sure they would have gotten one or the other.
they also got the special defense drop.
Yeah,
on the,
I also
on
watched
the
it.
Shadow
I
Ball.
watched this game live because Visha streamed it. So
Yeah.
it was also one of my other favorite games. I think second favorite game of the week.
Yeah, that one was kind of
I
nuts.
think especially for the Rainbow Raiders. I don't think they had a very good season, but I mean, I think their game against us and then their game against the Mats and the other games, I think they showed that. I think they could put an effort. They can win if they come back next season. I think they can win a couple more games, maybe even make playoffs. So
For sure, yeah. Next game is the Dark Web Porygons versus the New England Patrats. This one didn't get played because the Patrats are, 2 out of 3 of the Patrats are MIA, so Porygons took this one by default.
I think they only have one member that was present. And
Yeah.
The other 2 were MIA, so
Yeah.
it was a game I would have liked to seen played out.
Yeah. At the very least, this is the one that doesn't affect any of the standings at all because they'd both been knocked out of playoffs already. So, next we got the Sadistic Seniors and the Royal Jurors. This one was a really fun game. You watched this one, right?
I did. Actually, I just watched it like 20 minutes before the stream.
Sweet. So what did you think about this one?
It was a pretty good game. I think we had Soak, Feeny, and then we had a Forest Curse, Phantom, It was a pretty good game. I liked it.
How often do you see a water and grass type Porygon Z?
Hey, we saw it. Not too often, but we saw it.
They should have put a water move on it so they can get adaptability off the Max Geyser. I think it gets Water Pulse by transfer.
Yeah,
that would have been funny. But I really like. Well, we saw interesting takes on leads that we've seen before this season on both sides. We've seen the Phantump and the Porygon before when the seniors played against us, and they ended up they went for a nasty plot in prison just to get Porygon set up in the beginning and then stop our Trick Room. This time they went with Forest Curse onto the Porygon to and since of course Phantump is grass type, they could avoid Tangrowth's Rage Powder. And then Porygon, being a grass type after the Forest Curse, was also going to ignore Rage Powder.
Yeah, or Sleep Powder, whichever one.
And then they could blow up the Jellicent with an adaptability max Solar Beam. So they were prepping pretty hard for the Tangrowth Jellicent lead. So that was fucking crazy. Yeah, Zach says, who needs Ludicolo? We got a water grass type Porygon Z.
Fast too.
Yeah, so I really liked that lead. It was really cool.
I think something I wasn't expecting before I watched it was the Dynamax Raichu. So,
oh yeah,
that actually I was like, oh wait, I was actually surprised. So I think I mean, in this season, I think you get Dynamax Anymon. You could even Dynamax even your Baby Mon. So it wasn't something I was expecting. So it was a pretty good game overall.
Yeah, I like
Jurors.
I like the Dynamax Raichu here a lot, especially with the Assault Vest and taking the adaptability off the Max Strikes.
Oh yeah, you weren't taking off any damage whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. So, and then I think one of the crucial points in this game was when the Starmie went for Icy Wind as the Victini switched in and the Jellicent set up Trick Room.
Yeah.
So the Victini was quite a bit slower. They could underspeed most of the stuff on the senior side, and they were bandits. They were doing a shit ton of damage. And then they switched it out right as Trick Room was ending, brought it back in without the speed drop outside of Trick Room. And then they were able to finish off the Rotom and the Darmanitan. That was really cool. I really liked seeing this game.
Yeah, really good management.
Yeah, very very cool Max Raichu from Dina and Terran. Next up is the Amoonguss Burnouts versus the St. Louis Bulus. You watched this one, right?
I did.
What do you think?
I watched this game. I like the comment at the end of the video is we didn't deserve this win. Yes, we did. I think you guys were set up with was it the Mew or the
Clefable?
The Clefable. I think you guys were set up, and then you got a crit, and I think that crit just turned the game around for you guys. I was like, well, let's see how it finishes out. What was your guys' thought process in the game there for the end game? Did that give you? Was that the outcome you expected?
The crit at the very last second.
Nobody expects crits.
It's when the 3-minute warning came up, Anthony wanted to start timer stalling, as you normally do when you're ahead. And honestly, if we did, there would have been like 1 or 2 turns less that played out, which means the crit never would have happened and we would have just won by default because it was 3-2. We were aware that was a guaranteed win condition. I personally didn't really want to win here because I liked my odds against the Mudkips or the seniors in the wild card round better than our odds against the Wailords. And if we had won that game, we were guaranteed to play against the Wailords in this coming week.
Right.
So I didn't really feel like winning. So when Anthony was like he said, "Oh, we can just timer stall," I decided to say, "No, let's just play it out. This is kind of funny. Give him the chance to crit." And so we clicked buttons without waiting until the last second, those last few turns.
Sure enough, you got the crit you needed.
At the very last second, yeah. So I kind of like this game because we basically won without the negative consequences of taking the extra win in the win column. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So
which I think is a legit strategy. I think it's done in sports. I think I've seen teams tank their season so they could get the best pick next season. So there are certain opponents you want to avoid, and I think you take your chances with another team and then see where it goes after that.
Yeah, that's just kind of where my head was at, but it was still a fun game. I'm glad that we had this setup Clefable stuff is something we never really got to do the last time we had Clefable in this league during Season 3. And I'm glad we got to do it this time because we have an extra redirector to put next to it.
Right. So I mean, you have teams, anybody that you guys are playing, you have to take your shot or you have to try to guess who's going to set up here. Or you're going to try to set up. I think you guys earlier in the season already set up the belly drum on the Magmortar.
Yeah.
So it was like, is that what they're going to do? Or are they going to do this? Before watching the game, I wasn't expecting the Clefable to set up. Mm-hmm. So I think watching it, I was like, oh, okay, they're going to try to set up. I think it was kind of like just sitting there and, it just, kind of didn't go anywhere. I don't know if it went the way you guys wanted it to, setting up with the Clefable.
More or less, yeah. I mean, we were able to bring in Mew. Our plan was to Dynamax Mew, and we had Max Ooze, Max Quake, and Max Steel Spikes to keep boosting the Clefable stats for more damage on the stored power.
Right.
And we also used that to take out the Lipard because we knew that was the one thing that Clefable couldn't touch at all because stored power is the only attacking move it had. So
you are absolutely right. A win is a win. You take them however.
Hey, that's what he says. That's not what I say. But yeah, I mean, we definitely anticipated that the game to go something like that. Clefable. And it was nice having Clefable in the lead, so that we still had two Pokemon behind it.
Yeah.
So that
it was going to be.
I think
advantage. once you guys started setting up those cosmic powers, I think it was going to be hard to take out. And I think at this point, we were all like, "Well, the only thing that takes it out is the crit." They got the crit.
Yeah.
And it just kind of from there, it just kind of devolved. So
yeah. So that was fun. I'm glad we at least got to use the cosmic power shit because it's kind of toxic, but it was fun. The last game is the darn Heckin Delibirds versus the Regigeezers. Did you happen to catch this one?
I did not catch this one.
This one I watched a while back. I don't remember it that well. I think the that's right. The Delibirds led with the Registeel and went for Iron Defense, Body Press stuff, and Tailwind with the Archeops while the Geezer set up Trick Room.
Right.
It was kind of weird because Trick Room was up, but also Tailwind was up, so they ended up having Volcanion under Trick Room trying to Heat Wave against the Registeel, and they ended up missing two Heat Waves while the Delibirds were just like stalling with double protects, and then they would like miss a Heat Wave and then stall, double protect, Heat Wave miss.
Right.
So the Registeel made it through Trick Room just fine, even though the Volcanion was there. I really wonder how the game would have gone without that because it went to time and the score was pretty close. I believe it was 3-2, 4-2, 4-2 at the timer. And there were two chances where the Volcanion could have just KO'd the fucking Registeel, and it was doing a really good job of stalling out the Trick Room just by dodging the goddamn Heat Waves.
Right.
And then a little bit later, I think they set up Trick Room twice, once with Mr. Mime, and they were able to stall that one out well enough too, and then they just went with, they got the Virizion and the Entei in. The Entei had Assault Vest. They went with coaching with the Virizion, and then the Dynamax Entei just kind of wiped them. But they wiped them until the timer ran out.
Until the timer ran out. So.
The Geezers also Dynamaxed the fucking Boldore in the second time they set up Trick Room.
I wonder if that was. I wonder if they at that point they said, "Well, I don't think we can do anything here. Let's just Dynamax whatever we have." And
yeah, I mean, a lot of these games for a lot of these teams didn't actually matter for playoff placement, so I imagine it was kind of just a, hey man, let's Dynamax Boldore because it's funny.
Let's see what we can do and then go from there. See if it works out.
I mean, it did some damage. It like got 1 or 2 KOs, I think. Let's see. It got 1 KO.
1 KO. 1 Dynamax KO.
Yeah. So that was fun to see, but yeah, they. I just really wonder how this game would have played out if the Volcanion had actually been able to pick up the KO on the Registeel a little bit earlier, because that was really the main reason they were able to stall out that Trick Room and stay up in terms of the Pokemon count. So would have been interesting if that had gone another way, but ended 4-2 in favor of the Delibirds. All right. Next up, we got... Oh, I forgot the border on that slide, too. I'm fucking up today. Transactions. These are probably the most significant transactions we're going to have because everybody has a better pool of mons to choose from, given that all of the 6 bottom teams, you can take Pokemon off of them. So some teams did that. Some teams just took Pokemon from the board. Let's just go in order. Team Pussy, being the number 1 seed, got to pick first. Usually transactions go from the bottom seed to the top seed. We reverse that for the pre-playoff transactions to reward teams that did well throughout the season. So Team Pussy went first. They dropped the Flapple, which I'm pretty sure they never even used, and picked up the Trevenant. So that'll be interesting. This C-tier slot has just been filled by some kind of grass type this whole season. It started out with Alolan Exeggutor, then switched to Flapple, and now Trevenant. I don't know if they ever actually brought the Exeggutor, but...
I don't... From the games that I've seen throughout the season from them, I don't know if I ever saw it come, so...
Yeah. Trevenant might be a little bit better. It still has a lot of weaknesses, being a grass type, so it's sort of tough to use as a Trick Room setter. But, it's kind of bulky. It's got a cool ability. Harvest is nice. I don't know. We'll see what they do with it, if anything. I don't really expect to see it much, but, it's there. It's their grass type. Even though they kind of... They do have a Fire Water Grass core, but it's really mostly a Fire Water core, because the Cinderace and Mantine are the only ones doing anything.
Right.
Any thoughts on the Trevenant?
Trevenant, I'm actually excited to see what they're gonna do with it once we get the wild card games out of the way. So it's gonna be really interesting. I think most of the season they've been setting up the Trick Room with the Gengar.
Yeah.
So this is gonna add a different dynamic. See if they try to bring it in as a hitter or try to set up for something. So.
It can do some damage,
Some damage too. I think it's mostly a physical mon. I think the times that I've...
Yeah, it's all physical.
Yeah, all physical. So it's going to be interesting to see this, to see this play out once we get past wild card.
For sure. Next up was you guys, and you guys decided not to make any trades. Any comments on that?
We did consider making some trades, but I think at some point in the morning we were still deciding, but I think Allan was at work, and then towards the end, I think once he had some free time, he was like, I think we're good with the team that we have now. So I think the last changes that we made were the Aerodactyl and the Pikachu, which I think is what we originally wanted in the team. I don't remember. I probably have to look through our messages to see what we were planning on getting. Mm-hmm. I think we were planning on dropping the Fungus.
Okay.
I forgot for what. I don't know if Allan can confirm, but I think we just decided to keep it like that and take our chances without making any trades.
Yeah, I think if you were going to trade anything, it probably would have been best to go with either the Fungus or the Pikachu, since they're both they both serve that secondary redirector.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred to drop the Fungus because for a grass type Rage Powder, safety goggles on anything, and then it's kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
And then if it gets left in the back or it gets swapped out, when it comes out, it's not really going to be the damage output. It's not going to be there. So that's kind of my reasoning behind wanting to get rid of it. In the end, we decided not to. So.
Yeah, I think your team is really good as is. I actually really like the speed stat on Fungus too, just for opposing Trick Room. Allan says he was looking at Dracloak. Okay, that's interesting. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I think I would have liked going with that too. So in the end, I think we said we're good, rounded out. So let's take what we have and take it into playoffs and see where it goes.
Yeah, I think you guys have one of the best teams in the league already. So it's not crazy that you didn't want to change anything.
Right.
I think your team is kind of, at least in the draft structure of it, with the 4 A tiers up top, it's kind of similar to our team last time, and we made a couple of trades, but nothing too major that fucked with like the overall,
dynamic
right.
of the team. I think we kind of took we took some notes from you guys last season, and I think we were able to round out the team well. I think at some point during the season, I want to say every Mon has done something. He has contributed something to to each of our victories. So, I think, I think they've all done pretty well. So we haven't centered too much around one Mon, whatsoever. So I think we were able to have some variety as far as what we led and what we used and what we try to use as our hitters.
Yeah, variety and versatility is really the strength of that kind of draft for sure. Next up, we got the Mats dropping Kartana and Regigeezers. Not super surprised about the Kartana because Victini, I think, actually works very well for their team.
I'm very surprised about the Regigeezers.
Yeah.
That guy, I think, was the one that was putting in the most work for them throughout the season, and then now they're dropping it like yesterday's trash.
The only thing I can think of for why they dropped it is because they have another pure dragon type already, which they also have a history with. I know they really like Haxorus. They've used it in the past, and I'm wondering if it's kind of because people understand exactly what the Regigeezers doing.
Right.
So it's easier to counter now, because in the first few weeks it was like Regigeezers comes out and then it's just kind of like, what the fuck's that stupid thing gonna do? And it just blows shit up.
I think it got shut out versus the Patrats. I think they were just going for wide guard, and then they were locked. I think they were specs. I think it's been specs most of the times they brought it. I think if I recall correctly,
Dragon Fang,
and Dragon Fang. So I think they just got shut out with the wide guard. So it's kind of easy to prep for.
Yeah, a bit. So if I think it makes sense, but it is still kind of surprising given how much Vichy at least seems to like it, and the history they've had with it, and the success that they've had with it this season. But they also don't have... Yeah, they didn't have a dark type on their team. Or a steel type. Am I blind? Is there no other steel type on their team? Yeah, there's...
Besides what they had? No. Besides what they got? No.
Okay, so yeah, they added dark and steel to their to their draft. That's pretty good. The Victini I really like. I'm excited to see them use it in particular and see what they do with it, aside from the obvious expanding force stuff. But I think it's a really good S tier. I think it performed... on the Jurors team, it performed even better than I expected it to.
Sheep, we have matchups planned for payoffs. If you make it that far,
yeah.
Past top 8, we'll see about that. It's going to be exciting to see what they do with these two picked up mons.
Yeah. Overall, I like the Victini trade. Drago trade is weird because I liked seeing them use Drago, and Bisharp, I've never really been a huge fan of Bisharp past like Gen 6. So, we'll see. Doesn't Click dropped the Toxtricity Gmax for Electivire. This one's not a huge trade. I think it's a minor upgrade. I don't think Toxtricity was doing a huge amount of stuff for them. Electivire's kind of on the same level as an electric type.
I think a little bit more utility too. I think it gets Follow Me.
Yeah, Follow Me is the big thing here. It adds because they're previously, for the rest of the regular season, their only redirector was the Volcarona, which often wants to be offensive and only has Rage Powder instead of Follow Me, so it's much easier to bypass their redirection with just a safety goggles here.
Right.
Whereas for your team, it's a lot harder because you also have Follow Me.
Yeah.
So. I like this addition for some extra versatility in the redirectors. I don't think they're missing out on a huge amount with the not having the poison typing. They still have Escavalier as a good fairy killer. Electivire. Overall, I think this is a positive trade.
They have a pretty good overall balanced team. I think they have a good combination of speed and trick room if they wanted to.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, fuck. Talk about floors and ceilings. They got base 20 on the Escavalier and 142 on the Dragapult. Yeah, they're very fast, and very slow.
They're pretty speedy there. They got some good mons, so I expect them to do good in playoffs.
The Gengar Bisharp Blaziken is a VGC 2018. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think. Ooh, you know what? I think they might be going for Icy Wind Gengar and Assurance Bisharp. That's an interesting strat.
We're breaking down your strat, Vishy. You don't scare anyone.
Yeah, so it doesn't click straight. I like that one. Next up, we got the St. Louis Bulus. These are interesting. I don't know how much I like them. I think the Zapdos gives them a little bit more offense. It's a little bit sad to see them dropping the Blastoise, because that was the MVP of our championship team last season. But they do have the Togetic, so I get why they might feel like if they're using a more support-oriented Blastoise, it's kind of just sitting there not doing anything, because Togetic fills the same role.
And now that they dropped the Blastoise, I think Alyssa and Henry can go for it.
Well, Alyssa and Henry are out. Oh. I mean, they might, but it's also not G-Max Blastoise. They wanted the G-Max. You guys took that from them.
I think right after we picked it, I got a message from Henry.
I'm sure you did, yeah. He was pissed.
I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what you guys are picking, so...
Hey, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the Zapdos, it definitely adds some extra offense. Gives them a good max Airstream Sweeper, which they didn't have before. Not that they didn't have speed control, because they did. But max Airstream is just the best max move in the game. Gives them another good physical threat. My only concern now is and they do keep the water typing since they picked up Jellicent in place of the Reuniclus. My only concern is that they're weaker to Trick Room now, because
most of their mons are speedy.
Right, and the Jellicent is... I noticed this with the Jurors games. The Jellicent often wasn't really slow enough to function the way that you want in Trick Room.
In Trick Room, yeah. Unless you put, min speed, 0 IVs, and room service.
I mean, fuck, they had Iron Ball against the seniors.
Yeah.
Like, so... it was... It's a little bit awkward. I think they had a better mode against opposing Trick Room with the base 30 on the Reuniclus. But they might have good matchups against opposing Trick Room modes anyway. They might be planning to use that Iron Ball or Room Service on the Jellicent, so we'll see. And you can also this is something that the Jurors didn't really get to do. I know it's something they considered a couple of times, but you can use a fast Jellicent. It's not that offensive. Base 85 special attack is kind of meh. But if the matchup is right, Scarf Water Spout is an option.
Water Spout, or maybe self-proc weakness policy, if you have that option.
Mm-hmm. So I think overall, I don't know if I would say overall positive on these trades. Maybe. It's hard to tell. This is one that I'm gonna see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out for them in the playoffs. I think they're playing in the wild card. I think.
Yeah, they are going up against the Regigeezers. They've actually already played today. I don't know how that game went, but they have played. We did pick them to win in our pick'ems, so for what it's worth.
So I mean, this will be a rematch for whoever won, and and it's a best of 3 too. Yeah. So you can't just bring one strategy. I'm hoping that they're going to bring different strategies and not just play one dimensional. So it's going to be exciting to see how that plays out.
They're definitely good at switching things up and not doing the same thing every week. They'll do similar stuff here and there, just like any team would, but they're good at playing to particular matchups. So next up, we got the mediocre Mudkips dropping Scrafty for Obstagoon. This one seems like kind of a neutral trade to me. They do lose the fighting type, but they still have that on Riolu, even though Riolu's not exactly offensive.
Also lose the Intimidate too.
Yeah, they lose Intimidate, but they also gain a counter to opposing Intimidate. Not that there's too much of that running around.
Yeah, there isn't too much. I mean, just off the top, I don't think Incineroar on the Wailords, Torcat doesn't click, and then if you get any drops from max moves, I think it triggers its ability. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a pretty neutral move.
Yeah, it's a faster dark type. Scrafty does have kind of an awkward speed, but yeah, they are dropping the Intimidate and the Fake Out. Offensively, it's pretty much the same. I think they might actually have the same base attack stat. Either way, they're very similar. They're both kind of underwhelming offensively. So I know that Anthony and I were using Obstagoon in Season 3. The Bulus were using Obstagoon earlier this season. I think both of our teams found it kind of underwhelming. So
right.
It's hard to use.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think you guys didn't do I think you guys, when you guys had it, you guys weren't able to do anything significant with it, I think. So
it was able to like come in and maybe do some damage or score a KO on occasion, but it's not a sweeper. We never Dynamaxed it. The stats are just like it's so sad because it has a lot of potential to be a really good and really unique Pokemon, but it's just very lackluster.
Yeah, so we'll see what they're able to do with it.
Yeah.
And see how it serves them during playoffs.
Next up, we have our trades. We dropped our Keldeo and Zarude for the Tyranitar and Mienshao, making our draft a little bit more top-heavy. I'm gonna shut up about these. What do you think, Hector?
I'd like the Mienshao. Mienshao was something that we were actually looking at drafting in the beginning, and then it got taken. So I think we took the Blastoise and our second pick before we took this, and I think we wanted to take this second. So I like the Mienshao here. Tyranitar, I mean, both physical, so I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what you guys are able to do here. I mean, you guys have redirection, so you guys can probably set up, or, I mean, you guys got wide guard for spread moves with the Mienshao, I think. So, I mean, yeah, I think they were pretty good pickups for you guys.
We do have some plans, for sure. Moving on to the Sadistic Seniors. I'll also say, I guess before we move on there, I don't want to give up too much on our Tyranitar Mienshao stuff, but I will say that Keldeo and Zarude seemed a lot better in the beginning of the season than it turned out to be. They have really nice synergy, but at least offensively, the defensive synergy was a little bit lacking. They shared a few weaknesses, even with Mew as well, and
right.
Synergy was there, but they were also, I think even the bigger weakness was that like it was hard to do different stuff with them. They kind of just did the same thing every week. They were just moderately powerful, fast attackers. So I think we ended up prioritizing synergy too much over versatility in our initial draft this time. So this is sort of keeping the fighting and dark type on our team while sort of trying to fix that. So next up, we got the Sadistic Seniors dropping the Dracozolt and Golurk for the Kanto Raichu and G-Max Sandaconda. One thing I will note here is that they did trade an A tier for an A tier for Dracozolt and Raichu, but the Golurk for Sandaconda, they dropped a B tier for a C tier. I don't know if they knew that because they're down 10 points now, which you're allowed to do.
Right. So I mean, that's a good question for them. Yeah, if they knew they were gonna be doing that and dropping points. I think regardless, overall in the beginning of the season, just looking at their draft, they had a pretty strong team from the beginning. I think that's one of the few teams that I think I looked at and I would say I think they're going to give us a hard time. Mm-hmm. They added Raichu, they added Sandaconda. I think the Raichu was a great addition. So now you have even more. You got the Fake Out there. I think you could Fake Out. You could probably try to set up, do stuff. So it was a great addition to their already stacked team. I think I would say. I think they've been fast for most of the season. I don't think I've ever seen them run Trick Room. Correct me if I'm
Yeah, they don't have a Trick Room oriented team, so.
So yeah, I think overall it's a pretty good stacked team. I think they have different options. They could set up with the Corviknight or sweep with the Porygon Z, and they got the redirector. So I think they have a lot of potential going into playoffs here.
Yeah, it does give them an extra redirector. They didn't have Fake Out before because I'm not counting Mime Jr. because that's not a real Pokemon.
But he's there.
Yeah. It gives them some extra options, and the Dracozolt seemed a little bit underutilized on their draft anyway, so it was... I expected it to at least be a max threat, like once or twice, but yeah, didn't end up panning out. So if they're not going to use that very much, I think it's probably best to drop it for something that gives them a little bit more utility. And then the Golurk for Sandaconda... they're just swapping out one ground type for another, but personally I think Golurk is quite a bit better. Maybe they're hoping to do some trapping shenanigans with the G-Max effect. I don't know.
Maybe coil up. You could set up with coil. Get that accuracy up. Get that. I think it also gets glare too, so you could try to paralyze things. So I mean, I think it was a pretty good choice here.
Yeah, it can definitely do some stuff. It was on the Geezers team earlier in the season. I felt like it was a little bit underutilized there. Maybe they can unlock its potential a little bit better. I think it's decent as a C tier mon. I don't really I don't like it in exchange for Golurk.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they do. I mean, I think wasn't it them that had the Golurk fan, or was it another team?
Oh no, that's the Mudkips.
The Mudkips or the Golurk. So you guys aren't Golurk fans.
Yeah.
The Geezers, the seniors were so.
Yeah, so that's it for that one, and then the Geezers. They were pretty late in the transactions, and they actually snagged Togekiss. Nobody before them wanted fucking Togekiss, so
nobody wants that thing.
We considered it briefly, but then we were like, do we want Clefable and Togekiss on the same team?
S tier, right, or an A tier?
It's S, yeah.
Yeah,
it's definitely S.
I think you're round 1, round 2 going for Togekiss. You're giving up a lot of points, but here, they got the redirection now. They could do, crit kiss, so it's gonna be pretty good to see what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah, it is a little bit strange having Togekiss and Mr. Mime on the same team, both those fairy type redirectors. That's really the main reason that we didn't pick it up, because we already had Clefable. Even though Togekiss is obviously very versatile, it can be offensive for sure. But overall, I think it's a decent trade. They got rid of the Regigeezers and Salamence, which I think even more significantly than what they picked up is what they dropped. The Gigas, I think, was... I don't know how well it was doing on their team, and every time I've seen it in draft...
That they have something to cancel out its ability? I don't...
Yeah, they have coughing.
The coughing,
yeah.
So, you either bring it out with coughing, or, everybody kind of sees that coming there, but...
Right. It's easy to prep for. Every time I've seen Regigigas, whether it's with coughing or wheezing in draft, it kind of just falls apart, because I think it's easier to prep for than a lot of people expect. So getting rid of that's probably good. And then Salamence... Salamence hasn't been doing very well for them, so they dropped it for their old dragon type, the Goodra, which they had in the beginning of the season. They ended up dropping that, and then
were they able to pick it up again? I thought couldn't be picked up again.
No, you can specifically in the playoff transactions.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so if they tried to pick it up
again in the regular season, they wouldn't have worked. Okay, yeah, so they got it. So I think.
But yeah, and then the Salamence, I like dropping the Salamence for Goodra because they I don't really know what it was exactly, but the Salamence was just really not doing well for them. It kind of just came in and died, and there were specific reasons for that. I don't think it's because Salamence is bad. In fact, I think in draft it's actually a very solid A tier. But there was one time against the Mats where they were trying to bait out a maxed Quake on the Volcanion, and they switched in Salamence, but they went for max Wormwind and killed it anyway.
Yeah, I think they made a pretty good call there. So
And then against the Jurors, they maxed Salamence turn 1 and forgot that Victini got an ice move, and the Victini just killed it with a max hailstorm. So it wasn't really doing anything. I think there were totally ways that they could have used it where it would have been useful, but like when a Pokemon does that bad for you, I get that it's hard to stick with it. So and they had more success with Goodra when they had it earlier in the season, so I feel like that's
a little lackluster there.
Yeah, so I think this is a perfectly fine trade, and you know, Goodra and Togekiss can probably work pretty well together as well. So, being the having that fairy dragon combination. Unfortunately, they have kind of a shitty steel type, but you know, they still make use of it well enough, I suppose.
Right.
Then we got the Platinum Pixies. This is a pretty serious change for their team. What do you think about the addition of this Sun mode?
The Sun mode, I like it. I mean, it's pretty good in VGC, and you know, here it is. They're gonna try to make it work. I know you've had some interesting words for them and some of their picks throughout the season. So
this is better. This is much better.
I haven't seen it. I don't see any critique from you yet. So I think
Yeah, I've been kind of harsh on them when it came to their picks. I thought the Palkia was interesting at least, and it did do some good work for them this last week. I thought it was at least fun to see, but their initial draft is mostly where we gave them a lot of shit. But this, I think. First of all, they dropped the Pyukumuku, which, thank God, because that thing was just not...
Did they do anything with that thing?
They brought it once, and it only hurt them because it just sat there
think
while...
they got a better usage out of Ditto than they did out of Pyukumuku?
Probably, yeah. Well, actually, they brought them in the same... They led them together. They led the Ditto and Pyukumuku against Doesn't Click. And the Pyukumuku just kind of sat there while Doesn't Click killed the other side, so it really just hurt them, honestly.
Yeah.
So they got rid of that, and then getting rid of Palkia I think is okay. But since Palkia costs so many points, they were able to pick up both an S tier and an A tier along with the Pyukumuku. That I think is excellent, and the Sun mode, it does make them a little bit more reliant on Trick Room, having the Torkoal there. They have obviously the Torkoal, and the Slowbro and the Mudsdale are all things that want to... Oh, and the Munchlax are all things that want to function in Trick Room.
Right.
And to some extent the Beware, even though it's base 60, that's a little bit of an awkward speed, but you guys make use of Surfetched in Trick Room too.
Yeah,
so
yeah, we did, yeah.
You can definitely do it against faster modes.
You can do it, it's just bring it in at the right time
exactly.
and swap it out, so I think it's going to be interesting.
My only concern about their Trick Room mode, though, is that their only Trick Room setter is the Slowbro. So that might get a little awkward because it's a C tier for a reason. Its defenses are not as good as the Kanto version, so which is mostly why it's down in C tier. So, and I noticed that at least recently they've been bringing it in the back more often. So I think if they're gonna make their Trick Room mode quite a bit strong. Oh, it also doesn't get Oblivious, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But if they're going to use a strong Trick Room mode, I think they're going to need to play a little bit differently with the Slowbro.
Right. And I mean, for the most part, most of their Mons, I think more than half of their Mons are speedier Mons. I mean, except for the Klefki, it's just a setup Mon. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what they do with these two, with this pickup here.
Yeah. I think it adds some more versatility to the team, too. Just with the overall Sun mode. Because previously they were kind of just locked into like maxing the Mudsdale, which worked a few times, but it's harder to do that when you're going up against good playoff teams that are going to hard prep for that. So this forces their opponents to prep for an additional really dangerous mode as well. So overall, I think it's positive. I like it. It's if they can use it well, it's gonna be a force to be reckoned with for Doesn't Click. I think Doesn't Click's gonna have a harder time against them this time than they did in the regular season.
Yeah, so we'll see.
And last we got the Wailords swapping out the Squirtle for Girder. I don't know if Girder is going to end up hitting the field here at all. It does add a fighting type where they had Graplocked once before, but it does also remove their only form of redirection. But at the same time, it was a fucking Squirtle, so I get it.
Yeah, they put Eviolite on it and just kind of go from there. I don't know how many moves they're gonna want to try to take. I think they also have a good a good mix of speedier mons and then they have a good trick room set up here. So I think they're pretty good overall, well balanced team that they got, and I think this was a pretty good addition. I'm sure they thought we're gonna round off our team here. I don't think the Squirtle was doing that much. Maybe just redirection, maybe icy wind. So, I mean, we'll see what they do in playoffs. Joe said that they were gonna bring it for playoffs, and
I hope they do.
They better. Joe, show up.
Yeah. I hope we end up seeing it because it's definitely a much lesser used mon, and Squirtle is really just kind of a redirection bot that you just toss a focus sash on, click follow me once, maybe twice.
Kind of dead. Yeah, dead mon there. So
yeah. So if you don't feel like you need that on your team, then I get why you might scrap it. So, but I hope we see the girder. Most of their team is still the same, so we'll see how that plays out. All right, on to power rankings. We're an hour in. We're going to blow through a few of these, like the Porygons and the Patrats. They didn't play this week because the Patrats are kind of out, so they're just chilling at the bottom there. The Rainbow Raiders and the Royal Jurors both took wins this week, but it wasn't really enough to bump either of them up, given the teams above them are just a little bit more solidified, so it was hard to move them up. Also, if you see these little dollar signs on some of the Pokemon, those are Pokemon from the bottom teams that got picked up by other teams in transactions.
Right. Okay.
So, like the Togekiss got picked up by the Geezers, and the Jellicent got picked up by the Bulus, for example. So that's what that is. The Potatoes and Spammers both lost, so they both kind of have to move down. Potatoes took a pretty bad loss. The Team Pussy kind of rolled them. Spammers, we don't really know anything about their game because it was recorded, but we haven't seen the recording yet. And then the Pixies took a really nice win against the Wailords, so we felt it was appropriate to move them up by 2. Considering they are in the the wild card round now, it makes sense to have them in the top 12 here. Although that's not a requirement with power rankings, but we felt it was fitting since they took a good win here.
You're up there. You guys can come from behind and take it all. So
they got a shot. They won, the Spammers lost, so they're in.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Any thoughts on any of these bottom teams down here?
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, if they decide to continue next season, what they're able to bring. I know the Patrats, they didn't play most of their games because some of their team members weren't available for games, or I don't know if they lost interest. So, Dark Web Porygons, the same thing. They had a pretty good team. I think they they probably could have used it a little bit better. Yeah. So, I think the team they had was great. Everyone here had great teams, and I'm going to be excited to see what they're able to do next season, and then, take it from there. I mean, I think the Rainbow Raiders ended with a win. I think the Jurors ended with a win.
Yep.
So I think that's good for them. That keeps them on track for next season, and then hopefully they keep that same mentality going forward.
I'd expect both of those teams to do better next season, especially the Jurors, man, because they just got shafted on a few different games that they honestly should have won.
Yeah.
So that was rough.
Yeah, man. I think I would say the same for the Potatoes and the Ally Switch Spammers. Potatoes, I did not expect them to be this far low in the rankings at this point.
They were both playoff teams last year.
Exactly. So I honestly expected them to see them in the top 10. Maybe they could have made a push for top 5, but top 10 for sure. So I really do hope they come back next season and show everyone what they're made of.
Yeah, they're one of those teams. I think like the Potatoes and the Jurors and the Porygons. They're teams that have a really, really good draft on paper, and unfortunately ended up sort of underperforming. So, all right, so that's 12 through 18. Then we got number 6 through 11. The Regigeezers, they did take a loss this week, but we're keeping them at number 11 since they're we still feel like they're at a little bit more of a powerful spot than the Platinum Pixies, and the Pixies already moved up 2 spots from their win, so we felt like that was good enough. Wailords, I'm still kind of undecided on whether I think they actually tried this week, but they've missed a couple of games and they've kind of been phoning it in a couple of times.
I think this game matter, or did any other games matter? Did they need to win this to stay in playoffs? I don't.
They only needed to win if the Potatoes also won, but the Potatoes lost before they even played their game.
Yeah, so I think
didn't matter for them.
Yeah, I think it didn't matter for them. So they got playoffs coming up this week. I'm sure they're already working on scheduling their games. So I'm really excited to see what they're what they're going to be able to do and if they're going to be able to get past wild card.
Joe says we just grabbed what we had.
Yeah. So
that's kind of what I thought. So, I mean, if you guys actually bring it during playoffs, then maybe we'll have something.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm really excited to see Joe. Strong season start, and then at the end, and then I think they didn't play like 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really exciting to see what they're able to do. I know Joe is a very good competitor. We'll see.
For sure. Yeah, they're going to be a powerhouse if they actually try in playoffs. But...
Which, according to him, he says, Joe, so if you don't...
Well, that's what he says.
If you don't bring the heat,
then you don't get Raising Canes.
No Raising Canes.
Bulus and Mudkips both moving up 1 spot after taking a win. Bulus kind of got handed a win, but that's okay. We'll move them up anyway, especially because kind of wanted to move the Wailords down after that. And then the Mudkips also taking a win. Can't really say much about that either because we didn't get to see their game or haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
at least.
we haven't seen it. So.
Seniors moving down after a loss against the rural Jurors, and then fuck it, we're moving up because we basically won, even though we didn't.
Cue the Scamcinas here.
Yeah, this is all rigged anyway.
It's of course it's rigged. I mean, what else do you expect? Him and his kids, taking over this league, under the table shenanigans, payments and stuff like that. So Of course, you're gonna move yourself up when I would do it too. If I was doing these power rankings, I would be number 1.
Even though Team Pussy's undefeated.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, our loss was, I think it still hit me that we lost to the Rainbow Raiders. They played really great. Their end game was great. So, with our differential's high up there too. So. I think towards the end,
I think you have the highest differential.
We have the highest differential, but we have the 1 loss there. So I think we finally would have seen number 1 like Brian and Allan wanted to. I think that's what we've been working for all season. So I mean,
I will tell you. I said this the week that you guys lost because Team Pussy had a pretty bad game. They barely won
against the
Pixies.
The Pixies, yeah.
Basically, because the Pixies fucked up and had the wrong ability. That's the only reason.
Pixies,
that
why?
Team Pussy won.
You guys could have been the one to take the Kings down. Especially a good team. I know they didn't have a pretty good season last season, and this season for them to go undefeated and then see if they take it all the way, and then it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be excited for them. Good for them. I'm pretty sure they feel good. They're going to take a week off because, they get a bye into top 8. So it's I'm sure they're resting. They're going to look at how these games turn out and see I'm sure they're already planning, what they're going to do in playoffs.
Oh, I'm sure they got to keep an eye out and see who they're playing.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, that week, if you guys had beaten the Raiders, we were prepared to move you up to 1 since they kind of shit the bed at the same time.
Yeah. So, yeah, it never turns out the way I think we didn't. I think we had our foot on the gas, and I think we eased off. So, yeah, we definitely could have played the end game a little bit better. So.
I feel that kind of happened to us at the end of the regular season last time too.
I think we moved up. Did we start out? I think once we were in top 5, we moved up to 2nd, and then we didn't get to 1st. I think that was the goal for Brian and for Allan, for me obviously as well.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, going into our top 5. I don't know if you have anything else to add here for these.
No, I think we're good. Top 5, we got the Delibirds. Top 5 is exactly the same as it was last week. The Delibirds ended up winning against the Geezers, so they got to keep their spot here. Wasn't quite enough to move them up, just because even though Doesn't Click lost here, because they're now at the same record, and we felt like Doesn't Click is still probably a little bit stronger than the Delibirds are.
Both strong teams.
Oh, of course,
Very strong teams. So,
and I think I'm speaking for myself here at least. I may be a little bit biased because Doesn't Click has a history in this league, and we've been playing with them for a while, and they're former champions. And the Delibirds came in and really just surprised us because they were a new team that most of us didn't know. We didn't know how good they were, and they turned out to be one of our top teams.
One of the top teams, yeah, exactly. So,
so props to them for that. Yeah. And Doesn't Click, even though they lost to one of our top teams, they still played a great game. I think they're still plenty deserving of the number 4 spot here. And Ben and Vishy of the Matt Alcinas, they are still here at number 3 again, taking a loss, not enough to move them down because Doesn't Click also lost, but also because it was a game that didn't really matter, and they didn't seem to be they didn't seem like themselves in the way that they were playing. I think they had a clear way to win, and they just it felt a little bit like they were maybe just clicking buttons. I don't know. But...
And then I think the mon that we selected for this slide doesn't apply anymore because they got rid of it. So
yeah, I wanted to put it here one last time because they did max it this week, and we're not going to see it on here again since they dropped it. So one last hurrah for the stupid little Dragon Ball here. And number 2
number 2, Team Pussy. You can go now. Team Pussy number 2.
Yes, Team Pussy is now number 2. There are no unethical reasons for that at all. We had to change that last minute. Didn't get a chance to.
Nothing dirty here. Nothing. I didn't exchange any money with Matt just now for the number 1 spot.
Nope, of course not.
Number 2, I think we were number 2. I think 1 week or 2, and then we lost to the Raiders, and then we moved up, and then now we're finally back at number 2. We had a pretty good season, better than the way last season went. We had a horrible season, so I think it's good for me and Allan and Brian that we're up here, and hopefully we can close it out with a win at the end of the season. Take the championship. So I think that's anybody in Top Cut. I think that's the goal.
For sure, yeah, of course. And speaking of this season versus last season, the thing that seems to be making the difference, at least in my eyes, is the draft, because this draft is fucking excellent, and the draft that you had last time just didn't really seem to work. What are your thoughts on that?
I have the same thoughts. I think we went a little bit top heavy last season, and then we kind of just had some random picks towards the end, kind of in the weaker tiers. I think this time I think we saw value in everything that we were planning on drafting, and if we weren't able to get something, then we would circle back to our second or even third choice picks just in case we didn't get it. And I think we were able to get a use out of every single mon. I think except for the X-Cloud. X-Cloud didn't do anything. It didn't do what I thought we wanted to do with it. But we got even Fungus came. Everyone got. Everyone did what they were supposed to, and I'm glad to be where we're at now. And then we're in the same place as all the other teams that got a bye. We have a chance to look at what these teams are bringing, extra time to prep, so there really isn't much to worry about this season. This week, actually.
For sure, yeah. And I think just going back to this draft structure, since you said everything you have on here has been useful in some way, I think that's a huge strength of having a more balanced draft like this when you don't have any D's or E's at the end. You're able to get use out of everything, and it gives you more options.
I think the Fungus, sometimes it felt like it was a little bit dead in the water, because if we brought it in the back and we brought it towards the end, it's not really going to be doing that much damage other than sleeping and then hitting with whatever move we decide to put on for that week. So it really wasn't going to be doing much. It didn't do anything, I think, against our loss against the Raiders. So, at some point we were thinking about getting rid of it, but I like that we have that option for redirection there with the Fungus. And it also helped us out in Trick Room if we ever set it up or if ever got set up on the opposing team. Because then we had something to use in Trick Room besides the Slow King or the Surf Edge possibly. So I think... For me, I don't know if Allan has any input on it, but I think all the mons that we picked, did something throughout the season at one point or another.
For sure, yeah. And I think Fungus's role as kind of a Trick Room counter is probably the best thing it does here on this team, especially since you have two other redirectors, and Follow Me is obviously better than Rage Powder. So I think that's really where its value lies on this team. But yeah, congrats to you guys for taking the first seed in Sword Division.
Thank you.
And then number 2, of course, Team Pussy, the only team to go undefeated all season. So congrats to them for that.
Awesome team.
Yeah, it's not a team that Anthony and I had a huge amount of confidence in going into it because it doesn't seem like its synergy is super obvious. But there's a lot of Pokemon here that they're comfortable with, and they're able to do a lot of good shit with it. So, you can't argue with all those wins they got, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't really tell them anything here. Even how they started their draft with their picks is, I think you were able to effectively use all their mons at one point or another. So they finished undefeated, 10-0.
Yeah.
Nobody. I think there was the one chance with the Pixies that could have gone that one win from them. That could have been their loss.
They barely got bailed out.
Yeah, they got bailed out. Wrong ability.
Yeah.
I know Matt has some choice words for him. I'm sure he still does. They know
it already.
I think it's also important, even like for me, when we're getting the team ready before we play, I always want to make sure that we put the right abilities, the right moves, make sure we don't forget, anything.
Yeah, after you gen your mons, check them. Seriously. Always check your mons.
Yeah, I think, they could have had the win there, but Team Pussy went undefeated all the way. I think they were number 1 for most of the power rankings.
Yeah, almost the whole time.
Almost the whole time.
Once they hit number 1, they never dropped. So
yeah, they never dropped. So I think they never, they just kept their foot on the gas and they never let go. And, here they are. And then they're going to have their time to look at the playoffs and see what they do. I'm sure they already got some stuff, coming up for playoffs.
I'm sure, yeah.
In top 8. So I'm really excited to see what they got coming up.
Yeah, and I think I also want to mention that this season in particular, it's even more impressive than any other past season that they went completely undefeated because we've never had a longer season than this. We've never had an 11-week season with 10 games. So we've just had more opportunities for every team to take a loss. So to go undefeated in this season in particular, especially since this is maybe the strongest roster of teams we've had, I think it's incredibly impressive. So congrats to them for that.
Vichy proofread. Yes, you guys need to proofread. Give your homework to your dad before you guys click submit, because I think that's what you young guys do now. Submit shit. Yeah.
All right. So those are our power rankings for the last week of the regular season. So we got the Dark Web Porygons and New England Patriots down at the bottom. Jurors and Raiders, unfortunately, did not make playoffs, but they ended the season on a win. Po-Tay-Toes and Spammers taking a loss here, both knocked out of playoffs. Pixies barely making their way into playoffs with a good win against the Wailords. Regigeezers staying where they are at number 11. Wailords taking a loss, moving down to 10. Bulus and Mudkips, each with a win, moving up by 1. Seniors taking a loss, moving down 1. Amoonguss Burnouts moving up, and then we got the top 5 staying the same from last time. So 5 Delibirds, 4 Doesn't Click, 3 Mats, 2 Team Pussy, and 1 SoCal Cheek Drillers. All right. Here we are at the end of the stream. Pick'ems for the wild card matches. Do you have any Any words about any of these?
Let me see. I think the one that gave me the hardest time to pick in between either of them is Doesn't Click and the Pixies.
Really?
Because
why is that?
I don't know. I like the way both of them have played. I think the Pixies didn't have a strong start, but they were able to finish it out, and they're at where they're at now. So they really have another chance to move further into playoffs. Doesn't Click. I think in the end for me ended up being one of the stronger teams. So I'm all these games I'm really excited to see who comes out on top. Wasn't Wailords are strong. Burnouts. I think you guys are. I think you guys lost against the seniors.
Yeah, barely. If we we hit the fucking hyper beam, we probably won.
If you guys hit the hyper beam, you guys would have won. Coulda. If there's always that what if, and I think with that game, I think it was the same thing. I think we had something similar against the Wailords. We had a crit against a setup Bronzong, and it's what happens. But Doesn't Click versus Pixies, I'm going to be really excited to watch and see how that turns out. One of the harder picks for me to pick out. So I'd like to see. And then there's no offense to any teams that I didn't pick. But, if you guys want to prove me wrong, then, I'd like to see that happen. But these are my picks for the pick'ems. And I don't know if you have any other thoughts for pick'ems.
Yeah, just a few. I was a little bit surprised to hear that you were debating Doesn't Click and the Pixies, because I think it seems like Doesn't Click is the clear favorite here, but the Pixies obviously have a better team than they ever have at any other point in the season with this new Sun mode. So I'm going to be excited to see how they use that. Our other wildcard match, the Bulus and Geezers, actually already got played. Have you been in the spoiler chat at all? Because I haven't.
I haven't been in the spoiler. Usually, I'll go in the spoiler chat just to see who wins. Or I'll go into replays or screenshots, and then I may look at some of the games that I think the only games that I watched live were Ben and Vichy's, because they were actually streaming most of their games. I think other people stream too, but I just think the times that they were streaming, I was able to always catch that for some reason or another. So their games were really excited to watch, but yeah, we'll see.
A big part of the reason I picked the Bulus here is because these two teams had kind of like opposite seasons from each other, because the Geezers started out. Ryan says he hasn't spoiled it yet. So does that mean that you guys didn't say anything about who wins in the spoiler chat?
Or did you just pick them because they're your homies?
I'm incredibly biased, and this whole thing is a scam. So maybe. But
Dave, I know Dave is asleep right now, but Dave is the owner. So Dave, if you don't like that he picked the Bulus, just ban him right now. Or if you wake up to take a piss, or when you see this in the morning, ban him.
We're gonna have an admin fight. It'll be great. But a lot of the reason I picked the Bulus here is because the Geezers had a really strong start. They started 3-0, right?
They did, yeah. They started undefeated.
And the Bulus had a much tougher time, because a lot of that I think was due to this being their first multi-battle league. They have experience in draft, of course, but they were new to multi-battles in this season, and there was a bit of a learning curve. But once they figured it out and got going, they started seeing a lot more success, and the Geezers really fell off after those first 3 wins.
They took some hard losses. I think this was Austin's first time back since he took last season off. I think he had a kid or something, so it's really good for him. Congrats to him. I think he came back, and they try to do the most. So, I'm excited to see. If they want to prove us wrong here, and why we picked the Bulus over the Geezers, and I'm glad to see any team here that I didn't pick, at least in my opinion. Promote Ben and I to admin.
Nope.
You guys don't. You guys didn't put the right moves on the Blaziken, and you guys want to promote them, and then You guys aren't. I don't think you guys would cut it.
If you targeted the Inteleon earlier, then maybe. But
I think
no.
that would have helped it. That would have helped your guys' case. You know, so no nepotism here, and that's not going to help you guys. I'm really glad that Ben or Vichy fixed the smoke detector.
Oh, that was Ben. That was all Ben.
Yeah, I'm sure there was something they were trying to prove there. Maybe as a distraction to their opponents.
I just wanted on the record that I didn't raise them. That was not that smoke detector had nothing to do with me. So, anyway, we picked the Bulus here because they just looked a lot stronger going into playoffs. Going over to you couldn't jet that. There's a million bots out there. Go use another one.
You guys, Jen? Wow.
We'll talk about that later.
I'm gonna report you guys. You guys know who I'm reporting you to. If he was on Twitter still, I would be sending him a DM right now. He fixed it. No nepotism. He fixed it. I'm pure nepotism. My dreams are crushed.
Good. We're the crusher of dreams here. That's all I ever want. Sword division though, Mudkips and Wailords. What do you think about this one?
We really didn't get to see the Wailords play that much. They are a strong team. Same thing with the Mudkips. But I don't know. Joe said that they were going to bring the heat, so I'm hoping I'm not wrong in picking them over the Mudkips.
Yeah, this is the one. For that reason, this is the one that I was debating about the most, because I feel like I don't know if I believe them when they say they're going in full on for the playoffs. Maybe they might. I hope they do.
It makes it a little bit harder, but I'm absolutely hoping. I know we're gonna see a good game out of both these teams, and I'm hoping that Joe brings the heat. I mean, same thing for the Mudkips. You know, this is playoffs. This is gonna get you further onto top 8, and then possibly a championship. So it's there isn't and it's a best 2 out of 3 too. So
yeah. Which is why I think the Wailords might be stronger here, because I think they have more experience in best of 3.
Yeah.
But I think if the Wailords don't if they don't go all in like we've seen from them the last few weeks, then I would definitely pick the Mudkips to win. If they do, then I think they have a better chance because of the play that we've seen from them early in the season and because of their experience in best of 3.
Right.
So it kind of depends on how they bring it. But that's not to say that the Mudkips can't win, even if the Wailords give it their all.
Right. Yeah.
Because the Mudkips were finalists last season. We know they're good.
Yeah. So,
and they have the fucking Ice Horse.
This decision was also hard. Let's see. Bring on the games.
Yeah. And then us versus the seniors. Obviously, we're gonna win. What do you think about this one?
Well, of course you're gonna pick yourself. I don't. Before we started, you didn't tell me what you thought. You had already put the answer there. It's gonna be interesting. I think you guys have a great shot if you guys don't run Hyper Beam, because then you guys might. I think that's what you guys.
We didn't run Hyper Beam. They did. And we just transformed into them.
They transformed and you missed it. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
That's not our fault at all.
So run another move that can miss, and then transform into it. Have them transform into it if they can run it. Not accurate. I'm really excited to see what this game is going to bring. This is going to be a rematch. Now this is the best of 3, so a lot more. I want to say you have not a lot of chances for mistakes, but some mistakes can be made.
Yeah. You fuck up a game, you can come
perfect
back. Yeah.
If I think the only thing that messes you up is the hacks. That messes up anybody. We saw that this season. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this game turns out. I also picked you guys to win over the seniors, but I still, not to say that the seniors don't have a chance here. I think they have a great chance to make it on forward. So it's going to be exciting to see what you guys bring.
They're a consistent playoff team. They're very good. We've seen them play. We know how good they are. So yeah, I mean they're going to be tough opponents. But Anthony and I are confident in our abilities here. So that's going to do it for our stream. Since we've been talking about best of 3, that reminded me just to remind everybody these games from here on out, wild card and in top 8, top 4, and finals, they're all best of 3. If you didn't know that before, I don't know why you wouldn't, because people have been talking about it, made an announcement about it.
So if you schedule your games, make sure you schedule either spread them apart throughout the week or schedule some time. These are going to take longer than your best of one games throughout the season. So it's going to be real good to see how these games turn out.
Yeah. Make sure to set aside a good hour, at least, because we know games go to time. So, that's. One last reminder: as usual in VGC, you got to keep the same team throughout the whole best of 3 set. Items and moves and Pokemon all have to be the same.
That's both,
and you
on the same mons for the same player, right?
Yes, so each player has to keep the same set of 4 Pokemon on their side. You cannot trade Pokemon with your partner in between games in one single best of 3 set. So you got to keep the same 4 mons on the same side for the whole thing. Anything else before we sign off?
I don't have anything else. I'm excited for these wild card games. These teams they earned the chance to make it farther into the playoffs. So I'm really excited.
I'll also give another congratulations to the teams that got a top buy into top 8. That'll be you guys, the SoCal Cheek Drillers, first seed in Sword Division. Then we got the Darn Heckin Delibirds, second seed Sword Division. Team Pussy, undefeated, the first seed in Shield Division. And then, of course, the Matt Alcina's second seed in Shield Division. So congratulations to you guys on making top 8. And good luck to everybody in the wild card round.
Yeah, good luck.
And thank you to Hector for filling in this week.
Yeah, Anthony wasn't available. I'm sure he probably would have bought a lot better commentary than I would, but that's what we had available.
Anthony sucks. It's cool. All right, so that's going to do it for this week.
Ben, don't do that. You can't do that, Ben.
Yeah.
Go trade the rest of your smoke alarms in your house. How about you do that?
No, it's okay. You can do that, Ben. We'll just ban you. That's fine. Just yeah. All right.
I mean, if you give him $2, he won't ban
you. We don't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you hit stop stream.
All right. We'll be back with some playoff breakdowns as this shit moves along. So, thanks for sticking with us for 11 weeks of power. Well, 12 weeks of power rankings because we did week 0. So yeah. So thanks for watching all this bullshit we do here, guys, and we will